All right, welcome everyone. My name is Ty Smith. Welcome to the Data Podcast. Today, I have a very special guest. This is a man that went from a comfortable six-figure job to taking a chance on himself to building a $500,000 a year empire off of Upwork, being an effective and powerful digital marketer slash ad manager. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mitch Lawrence. Welcome, Mitch. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you for that brilliant introduction, Ty. I'm glad to be here and ready to hop right into things.
Awesome, awesome. So yeah, let's well first before like we get deep into it, I want to give you guys like a little bit of a background on like how me and Mitch initially met and kind of like how our relationship has been extremely beneficial to me, and I look up to Mitch as like a mentor, and he's really helped me, get my leg up into this digital marketing space, and definitely someone that you want to tap into if you want to grow, and especially if you want to use Upwork as like an effective platform. So essentially, like when I started on my digital marketing journey, about like a year and a half ago, almost 2 years now, I was like extremely excited to hop into the space, but also extremely like ignorant to all of the details and stuff like that that goes into becoming a digital marketer, running ads. And that was initially like what I wanted to come into the space for, was running ads and becoming an agency and like doing this whole thing because of the whole hype of the social media marketing stuff throughout the internet. So initially, like I found Mitch initially like through Upwork, and I was looking for a consultation and also someone that I can like work with when it comes to running ads and stuff like that. Because I hopped into this space not knowing anything about running ads, Facebook ads, anything like this at all. So initially, like me and Mitch's relationship was going to be like a kind of like a partnership almost, in the sense of like I'd pay him to help me with like the ad campaigns and stuff like that I'd be getting together for my clients. But then I had this realization of just like I really want to understand and like learn how this ad stuff works. And Mitch was just like so open to just being a really good teacher and being able to give out just good information. And that's when the idea just like popped into my head. I was like, okay, this guy, he has everything. He knows a lot of stuff when it comes to running ads. He understands the space and he's been in it for a while, and he's been able to successfully build up a business through it. And I was like, um, how can I be a part of what it is that he's doing and get firsthand experience, because like I don't have any. So I offered to work for Mitch for free, and just like was working in on the back end of like accounts and stuff like that he was running. And initially, like that's exactly how our relationship started. I learned the entire game from him. He put me onto a lot of really dope stuff when it comes to digital marketing, when it comes to running ads and how to deal with clients and the mindset that you need to be able to be successful in this space. And that's where we're able to get to now. He gave me a leg up, and then I went off to go make six figures myself. Like I said in the intro, he's making half a mil a year off of the Upwork platform. And it's really inspiring. And from where I went from where I was in the past to where I am now, like I attribute a lot of my success to Mitch, and he has a lot of valuable information to share. So with that being said, that's kind of a little bit of a background on me and Mitch. And I want to open the floor now to you, Mitch, to like kind of explain like what was your background, like where were you before you got onto Upwork, and also how did you um because you were working like a comfortable like six-figure a year job, but you decided to like take a leap and like go off and like start doing the unpredictable world of like freelancing. Like what made you want to do that, and what kind of like what made you make that decision?
Yeah, so my journey comes from the corporate side of things. Prior to digital marketing, I was working for telecom and tech SaaS companies in the corporate space, doing what's called product marketing. So a lot of
Mhm.
go-to-market planning, product launches, competitive analysis, market research. Um, and I did that for about between 6 and 7 years. And all the while, I had an interest in the e-commerce space and Shopify, and kind of exploring having an online business and growing that, and basically becoming independent eventually from that corporate type of 9 to 5 kind of job. And in the 9 to 5 world now, you kind of get a salary, a yearly salary, and growth isn't super prevalent unless you take that step away from the company that you're currently at. So maybe you step out to another job and see a 25% increase in your salary, and then you do it again and again and again. And to me, I don't really enjoy that path. I didn't really want to just keep hopping around from company to company and then eventually hit a ceiling where I would have to try to enter the executive C-suite or whatnot. So the journey culminated in a number of failed Shopify stores, maybe up to 10 or 11, and finally having one that succeeded um, right around the winter when COVID was hitting. And I'm still working 9 to 5 all the while. And I had my own mentor kind of eventually who taught me how to do ads, gave me a business model that would work. And this store really took off throughout 2019, 2020, that time frame. And what happened was eventually COVID hit the supply chains that I was using for my print on demand store. And I
Mhm.
had to kind of cease operations for a little bit. But I realized I was really good at Facebook ads, Instagram ads, the marketing piece of my store. So um, my mentor at the time actually told me to hop on to Upwork and try to get some clients, help some other people out. He said, you know, there's some really good people out there you can help. And I did. I hopped onto Upwork.com as a freelancer during that time and started helping people. At first, I was just coaching them on ads. I wasn't doing it for them because usually you don't feel comfortable doing it for people unless you really have a solid foundation because you're spending their money.
Yeah.
Um, and eventually, that did turn into me running ads for different companies and startups and even more established businesses. And I became top rated on Upwork within maybe 5 months or so. Um, and that's when I really things started to take off, and I was getting a lot of interest and proposals. And since then, again, this being over about 2.5, 3-ish years ago, um, I had quit my corporate job um, and started quote unquote freelancing full time. But eventually, it just turns into being a business where you have all of these accounts that you're working on. You may outsource certain things or not, but um, you're you're kind of a business in the sense that you have cash flow, you have an account, you have a number of clients, and
Mhm.
you're scaling yourself to a point. And that's kind of where I'm at now. Is um, I've scaled myself fully into this business, and I've helped, businesses doing 6-figure revenues a month, 7 figures, 8 figures a year. I've helped influencers, other, high-level entrepreneurs, and it's just been a blessing to be able to help these people. And again, mostly on the Facebook, Instagram ad side, but also some TikTok, Pinterest, other social media ads. But that's mainly my focus.
Nice. And I think like for me, like I want to know like and tap in a little bit into that. Like what was that like breaking point for you where you realized like, oh, this is actually going to be something like, because I'm sure like obviously there was a point or period where you're like, okay, this is working and I'm making some money. But what was that point to where you were like, okay, like this is going to be sustainable and like solid? Because I remember having that like realization moment and even texting you at that point where I started like making like 2 to 3K like a week off of Upwork. And I was like, okay, like I've made it now and it's time to start really scaling up quickly from this point. Like what was that realization for you, or like what was that like revenue
Yeah.
range that you started to have that?
So the quitting point for me was when I was making 2x on the side what I was making in the corporate space. So let's say, just for example's sake, you make 4K a month at your corporate job, and that may be around 60,000 or that area yearly after taxes, and you're making double on the side. Well, eventually
Mhm.
the corporate time starts to eat into your side hustle, and you start trading off hours between them, and it becomes non-profitable and unfruitful. So you have to decide, can I replace that 4K a month from corporate, or you just start thinking of corporate as a client eventually. Um, can I replace that with double or triple or 5x what it is? And I said, yes, I can. I can just get 10 more, 20 more clients for this corporate job, which is taking 50 hours out of my week, where I have to sometimes show up in person, commute a little bit, and just becomes like a waste of time to trade that off. And not saying, not knocking anyone who does want that, because again, you better believe that you're going to start working 24/7 in a way, um,
Yeah.
once you do make the side hustle your main hustle. Um, and yeah, so that's that deciding point. And I would say, Upwork or not, the revenue can come from anywhere, whether it's referrals or Upwork or Fiverr or wherever you're doing business, and have a contract. That's, I would say.
Yeah. And would you say like Upwork is like a great way for other people to get started, like especially if like they're just getting into the digital marketing space and they're trying to find those like first couple of clients? Would you say that Upwork is kind of like almost like a shortcut to like getting to those like warmer prospects than what you would have to do if you were like outside of the platform?
Yeah, Upwork is a great way to start getting leads for yourself. And they are kind of warm in the sense that people are actively looking for service. And it doesn't have to just be Facebook, Instagram ads, or Google ads. It can be graphic design, or it can be, um, proofreading essays. If that's all you can do right now, and you need some cash flow, I recommend hopping on Upwork and buying some connects and applying to some jobs. And don't
Yeah.
get discouraged. It's an everyday thing. I think I told Ty early on, I'm like, you need to have a set time during your day where you're just prospecting at the start. And that can be once in the morning, once in the evening, or just once in the morning if that's all the time you have. But it has to be disciplined. Like, you're looking for a job all the time, even if you have a couple jobs, because as we both know, people just cycle in and out in this space sometimes, and things
Yeah.
happen, and you don't always have client retention.
Exactly. And I think, yeah, even just previously before this call, I did my 10 a day of my proposals of just sending out like my 10 every single day. So yeah, it's definitely like if you yeah, the number one thing about like Upwork and like just in this whole mindset can be applied to anything in general, like having that, like what you just said, having that discipline to be doing prospecting every single day, regardless if it's on a platform like Upwork, or if you're doing, cold outreach or whatever. Like you have to be consistent every single day to see that result. And if you're not, then you're never going to actually reach clients, because people always will get stuck into the loop of like trying to do all these other things that are just not important for their business, and trying to like make a perfect website, or trying to do
Set
all
up
of
the
these like vanity.
LLC and worry
Yeah,
about
like
that. And
E exactly, like, all of the vanity, like, all of the vanity stuff. Like, the things that matter the most is, like, you getting cash flow, and for you to be able to, like, move forward with your actual business so that you can get somewhere. Because if you're not doing that, like, if you don't have cash, like, cash is the oxygen to every single business, and if you don't have that, then you're eventually just gonna die out, or you're not gonna have a business overall. So, yeah, I think that, that point that you made of just being disciplined every day and doing that is what gets you to, getting those first couple of clients. And simply just by me taking that advice, like during because I remember during that time when you were coaching me and mentoring me, I was working like an overnight security job. So like I was working from like 12 at night to like 6 a.m. in the morning. And then like right when I got home, I would go and like do my 10 to 15 proposals every single day. And I remember it was around this time, like last year, that I got my first like $1,500 a month contract from after like doing like, 10 to 15 proposals a day for like three to 4 weeks of like not seeing any results. So it really is about like just sticking to it until eventually like something hits. And then, once you get that first client, like it kind of just it snowballs into a bunch more, especially if you stay consistent. Now, with that, I wanted to like this is another thing I wanted to touch on, because this is something I know both of us has experienced over time. How do you what was like your process in dealing with like once you start having like a large like handful of clients, like how do you go about like dealing with one, the stress that comes with that, and then two, like how do you like, like, and especially also we can talk about like client churn and stuff like that. Like how do you go about like dealing with those things and handling those things when one, you have a bunch of clients that you have to juggle, and then two, like when clients start falling off, like what is the mentality that you put yourself into to continue to push forward and not get discouraged?
Yeah. So juggling a lot of clients can get stressful after a certain number. And as they say, many times it's the lower ticket clients that are more stressful than higher ticket gigs that you may acquire or secure.
Yeah.
But so you may have 10 clients for $500 a month doing ads, and that might have been easy to get each of them. Or you may have one for $5,000 a month that you're driving a lot of value for. And many times that one is less pressing than half of those 10 that will
Yeah.
just be texting you, emailing you at all hours, or calling you even if they have a direct line to you. So um, a lot of it's about account management and being a freelancer or someone who you could say owns the agency but also provides the service. You have to do both. Um, and I would say something that I still am working on is setting boundaries. You can let people in on a certain channel of communication to you. Let's say it's email only, or you only text me on my business line, or you can reach out through Upwork only, or whatever it is. Just know that that's the main communication channel for that client or the majority of your clients. And if you have that, you can turn it on and off in your head, because you are a human at the end of the day. You do need to recharge and wind down at certain points of the day. And it is very stressful, especially being an ads manager. So um, that's definitely an answer to the first question of kind of the client management side of things.
Yeah.
Can you clarify the second question just one more time?
Yeah. And then like for churn and stuff like that, when clients do fall off, how like what's the mindset that you kind of go into to not get discouraged after something like that happens, especially if it's like a big contract?
Sure. So clients are going to churn inevitably, and that means everyone's going to churn always, because people pass away, people switch jobs, they level up or level down, or the business is changing, or you're going to get replaced. There's something's going to happen eventually with every single client that you will be removed from that opportunity. And you need to be prepared for that mentally. At first, you may not be, because you're excited that you secured them and they may be an initial client. Um, but eventually, you'll start to notice this ebb and flow of people leaving and coming. Sometimes they come back, or sometimes they're just gone and they disappear. And it seemed like, wow, hey, I had a great relationship with them and we would talk every day, and now they're just gone. And so the answer to that is you have to constantly be prospecting and having eggs in all sorts of baskets and things cooking that will close in the future. So, for example, I'll think of things that are 2 weeks down the line. This may close, it may not, but eventually something will waterfall, and two things may close at a time, or three clients may sign with you, and you don't have to worry as much about losing one, because you already have these opportunities heating up.
Yeah.
It's hard to balance it, to think about it, but if you stay consistent with what Ty and I just mentioned, of the consistent daily prospecting, then it will just stack like bricks over time, and you'll have more and more clients. And then you're in a position where you can leverage those relationships to say, hey, I don't necessarily it's need to prospect as hard this month. Like, eventually you can slow down on the 20 proposals a day, like I personally have on Upwork. But then you can turn that nozzle, because you know how to prospect and keep those sales skills sharp and
Yeah.
get those clients again.
Yeah, and yeah, I think that's really powerful. It's just like always, that's the one thing that I definitely learned during that period of like me scaling up with Upwork and stuff like that is that you always have to continue to have something cooking regardless of wherever you're at or how comfortable you feel you are with your clients, because anything could happen at the most randomest time that can literally like make you lose half of your income. For instance,
Yes.
like back in June, I had a situation with one of my clients, like one of my biggest like retainers that I had, where I was working with like my junior media buyer, and his account ended up getting hacked, and it ended up affecting one of my other clients' accounts. And though it was something that was completely out of my control, something that was not even my fault because I have two-factor authentication, all of my stuff is secured. That junior media buyer ended up ended up affecting that person's account. And though it was not my fault directly, I'm still responsible for that client, and I ended up losing that client just because of that like one thing of something that just random. Like I could have not. There's no way I could have like prepared for that on my end. Now, like in hindsight, like I know certain things that I need to do to make sure that that never happens again. But yeah, anything could happen, and that's the reason why you want to always have stuff cooking in the background. Like for some clients, like it's also just about like, you know, the long game of like being able to, there's some people that I started talking with in February, but I don't start like I haven't started working with them until like June, until like the summertime. But by keeping that relationship and following up with them and stuff like that, it all made it worth it in the end, because then they turn into a retainer client that I can continue to work with over time and stuff like that. But you know that if yeah, it's all about like, you know, just staying consistent and keeping yourself out there in front of the right front of the right people, and keeping that pipeline full so that you can always stay prepared for, you know, whatever could happen, because you never know when a client's going to leave. You never know what might be their reason for moving on from you and so forth.
Yes, and
So
always build bridges. Don't
yeah,
burn them. I know it's a cliche, but if you burn those bridges, not only do you burn the opportunity for referral clients, but you'll never get that client back. It's very unlikely if you leave on bad terms. So take things with grace. And like Ty said, you may be working on something where you spoke to someone in February, but they don't close until September. And that's just fine, because you'll be a very happy person in September, and you may not have even needed it, but it's just a boost and helps build your clientele.
yeah, most definitely. And that kind of like now starts to bring me into my next question. How different were things from the stage of like once you were able to scale up to like $20,000 a month, once you're at that stage versus 40K a month plus, like what is the shift in mindset from those two different revenue areas or revenue ranges?
Um, to me, 20K a month is substantial, because you're earning more than 90 plus, well over 90% of people in a corporate single, 9 to 5 type job. Um, and that's as a freelancer slash service provider. So, and at that point, you could, in a sense, say, hey, I'm comfortable. I can live a upperish middle class life, and I'm fine. Um, and to me, as an ads manager at 20K a month with retainers that are 2K 3K a month, maybe 1K a month, it's not the end of your free time. You still have a lot of time. Once you scale up to double that, um, you're talking about clocking a lot of hours and dealing with a lot of client management. And at that point, I believe, with these levels of retainers of, like I'm saying, 1K 3K, maybe 5 here or there, you may want to start thinking about either small other small streams of income, or hiring someone to help you free up some of that time. And when I say other small streams of income, I just mean you may refer people to others and get some sort of referral retainer or whatever, just kind of less hands-on sort of income
Yeah.
So again, the difference between doing this at 20K to 40K is just the amount of time that you have to put in. And I believe that at 20K you can have a very good life balance and handle those clients. But every every person is different in the stress tolerance they can handle. I have a decent stress tolerance where I'm happy at the level I'm at, and I still want to scale, and that's just where I'm at.
Yeah. And with that, like, do you see yourself, like, even though you're already making a lot of money, like where you're at like currently right now, would you still could you see yourself even like wanting to double like your like the 40K range that you're in now? Or and like if you were to get to that like stage, like what would that look like for you? Are you trying to would you want to just like stay in this like comfortable and like this comfortable range of where you're currently at? Or do you see yourself wanting to scale up to that point? And if so, like is that or yeah, actually is that something that you even like want to do at this stage?
Yeah, I would say never get too comfortable at one stage because, as they say, if you're not growing, you're dying. So personally, yeah, sure, um, I would want to double, but after a certain point, you have to have those trade-off discussions in your mind or with yourself and say, you know, I do work, 60, 70, 80 hour weeks. So there's no 160-hour week. That's not going to happen where you have double the clientele, double the income. It's just yourself and you're working 160 hours a week. So you have to do those numbers in your head and then start to say, all right, what needs to be traded off? Do I need to have higher retainers, much higher retainers? Do I need to hire a junior media buyer to free up some time and allow me to scale? It's a matter of that for everyone, not just me. So, um, personally, I'm doing the work that I want to do at this level, and still growing slowly but surely. And I don't look at it as a must to hit certain numbers in revenue or, you know, certain numbers in my business by like
Yeah.
the end of the year or something at this point, because I personally have a family. Money can't just be it can't just be the end all be all at the end of the
Yeah.
day. So I have to have some time for life. And while more money always seems like a good thing, and you picture ways to get there, and you may want to get there, you may just be going with the flow. You know how to maintain the current level, like I do. But if someone nice comes along, or I interview somebody who I trust and they can come into my business and help with growth, great. If not, I'll keep providing top level service and loving what I do.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's really smart. And with that, do you think would you potentially even see yourself to like without having to, because I know like managing a lot of clients, it's stressful, and like no one really wants to continue to like double the amount of work just to get to a new level. So there's different ways that you can go about like still scaling up without having to double down on your clients. And one of those ways is simply just like by either charging more or having more of a scalable, I guess more of a like a scalable offer as far as like, either doing coaching or consulting and just charging in that way. Do you see yourself ever like, going the like the done with you? I know that's how you started, but like, or do you ever see yourself doing more of like just the done with you, like consulting, like packaging like your services, but not having it be like done for you where you're doing the work, but essentially people pay you just higher either like a one-time package or like a monthly retainer just to get part of your mind so that you can scale up without actually having to like do the work yourself? Do you see yourself wanting to do that, or is that something that you're already on the verge of
Yeah, I
as far
do
as like
offer
coaching?
some level of consulting. But again, to me, consulting is still trading time for money.
Yeah.
A- And ads management is beautiful because it's not always trading time for money. If you can set up something right and let it run for 2 weeks and get results, and maybe you check on it, 30 minutes between now and then to me, that's a win. And you're providing the value that the client needs. There's nothing wrong with that. And then charging a retainer. And to me, that's why that business or this business is so scalable. Um, with a one-time consulting fee for your time on a call or just advising, that may seem attractive at first because it could be like a maybe like a one-time high ticket consulting package. So that's something I would offer, but I don't actively pursue that. And
Mhm.
then to the I like the idea of done with you service. Something that I think about and sometimes offer is just, other ancillary services within digital marketing to my existing services. So instead of just trying to milk a client for the most that they have or upcharge, which many times doesn't work, like just doubling your retainer or something, you could just say, "Hey, I'd like to start including email marketing in here if you know how to do that," or "I'd like to implement a CRM, go high level," or "I'd like to help you with SMS automation," or something like that, and just charge extra for that on a monthly. And that's a way you can scale existing business, and especially if they're not super heavy workload clients who may, require a lot of time. That's a good way to get more value for what you're doing and offer more value. So that's what I would say is something that I actively pursue and think is a definite positive.
Awesome. Awesome. And yeah, so that's, I guess, like the for one of the next things that I wanted to ask you, with currently, like right now, like we could kind of get a little bit more into I guess like actual, ad management and stuff like that. Do you have and I kind of already know this, but like do you have like a preference when it comes to like running certain types of campaigns? And if so, like why is that?
Um, for ads management preference, I don't have one in particular, but if I had to pick, it would be lead gen because of A, it's delivering direct value, but B, they're just easier campaigns to run. E-commerce, the business has to be a lot more established for that to go smoothly. And at the
Mhm.
beginning for e-commerce campaigns, it can be very rocky and stressful, and you have to
Yeah.
put in a lot of time on those campaigns. So I would say lead gen is bread and butter for me.
Yeah, and I agree. Like I've told you before on like previous calls and stuff like that. Like lead gen has been, um, in the beginning, like when I was like wide-eyed and bushy-tailed about all of this stuff, I was like, oh yeah, like I saw the YouTubers and stuff like that saying like e-commerce is going to be easy. This is going to be the way. This is how you should go about. If you're going to be doing ads and stuff like that, like go into the e-commerce space. That's the way that you should go. That's where you'll make the most money. And then you get hit with like the hard reality of like e-commerce is extremely hard, and you have to like you said, it works best if the business is established. But if you're getting like lower ticket clients that aren't paying you that much to bring their like their business that isn't even fully built out yet, to try to put ads behind it and scale it, then that's when you start seeing like that's when you realize like how difficult e-commerce can be, especially if the business is not established. And with those type of clients, like they're really like looking at you and expecting you to bring their business from like zero to hundreds of thousands of dollars just by turning on some ads, when they have a bunch of other like more logistical stuff that needs to be fixed with that. So yeah, I agree. I think Legion is definitely one of the is a really good way. Um, it's I want to say that it's like that it gets easier because there's definitely some complexity to it, and especially the more thought that you're putting behind a like a specific type of like lead funnel and stuff like that. It does get more complicated in that way, but at the end of the day, like you can definitely provide a lot more value through lead gen, because with those types of businesses, like you can be generating a business like a $20 cost per lead, but then they go off to make like $2,000 if they get a sale off of just any of those leads that you
Yep.
generated at that price range, giving them like a huge return on investment and so forth. So yeah, lead gen is definitely powerful in that regard. um so yeah, and with like Facebook and everything right now, has there been any like consistent problems that you've been like running into, like anything with like as far as like tracking, and if you use any like additional like attribution softwares or anything like that to help you? Because one thing that I've always, obviously Facebook, this has always been a problem with Facebook, like over reporting or under reporting. I started to become a lot more hip with like using attribution softwares like Hyros and stuff like that to help with underreporting and overreporting. Is there anything that you're doing on that side as far as like helping get more accurate results, or are you just like using UTM parameters? Like what are your methods in fighting that with Facebook?
Yeah, so attribution is always a an issue nowadays, especially after iOS 14.5. So I would say that the tools like Triple Whale, Hyros, those are definitely helpful in providing longer attribution windows and appending their UTM parameters to campaigns and being able to analyze that attribution within their softwares or within their plugins.
Yeah,
So I do use those, and that is a consistent. It's not even a problem anymore. It's just part of the landscape now.
yeah,
I guess the eternal problem for Facebook also is, you know, support is not super helpful. They have a disconnect between taking action on your account versus having an internal team who will do the work and actually fix something for you. So just dealing with little kinks there, here and there through the platform, they become part of the day-to-day work. But I would say things are relatively straightforward because, again, I know the platform like the back of my hand at this point, and I know how to set up any sort of campaign. So that's what I would say.
yeah. Um, and yeah, I think, yeah, as time goes on, I know that like Facebook currently right now they're fixing current things. I've been hearing some things about like them saying that they're going to like remove the pixel. I won't like touch that much more into it because I just heard that from different news sources. I think I actually heard that from I can't say his name correctly. Cost your mentor, but essentially like I was watching some of his like YouTube channels and stuff like that, uh and yeah, they were talking about, I heard some things about like the pixel potentially being removed and like it being replaced more so with like a lot of the back end like server stuff and things like that. So so yeah, we'll see how that goes like over the next year. But yeah, I think it's becoming like more so like mandatory that people start using um different attribution softwares and stuff like that if they want to be able to get the most accurate results. And it's, I think, almost essential, especially if you're going to be spending a lot of money on these campaigns. Like if you're, especially if you're an e-commerce store, even with lead gen, it's all important. Especially if you're spending anywhere over 5,000, even $3,000 a month plus on your ads, you want to make sure that you're getting back the most accurate data, because that can make a huge difference in your returns and stuff like that over time. So definitely, I think it's definitely a useful thing to use over time. Um, and yeah, let's I got just a couple more questions and then we'll wrap up. The other thing I wanted to talk about, do you with your, because every ad manager, every person that runs ads, they're different. They all have different strategies and like how they go about like setting up and running their campaigns. Do you have like an approach when it comes to setting up your ad campaigns? Do you, are you more of like a technical ad manager of just like looking at the numbers? Or are you more focused on like the creatives? Is it a mixture? I know it's obviously a mixture of both. Like you can't have one without the other. But is there one that you kind of like specialize in? Do you specialize more in like looking at the numbers, or do you specialize in like looking at setting up like powerful like message driven creatives? Like what is that process like for you?
Yeah, I would say I'm on the side of multiple variants and variations of not only ad copy, headlines, primary text, creative, having multiple ads or dynamic creative. I'm on the side of more rather than less for Facebook ads. And while looking at the numbers is of extreme importance, you need to have the structure set up properly to hit those numbers that you want to hit. So, you know, I'm working on a campaign now where I'm thinking to myself, well, do I want to set it up one way and take the risk of it not working and then waiting another week, or do I set 3 of these campaigns up different ways and run them all at a lower budget just to see which one does actually work? And the answer is going to be the second, even though it's going to take me an extra couple hours to set it up. So um, again, I'm about breadth when it comes to Facebook ads. I think as a and then becoming precise and doing breakdowns and all of that. So that's what I would say.
Yeah. And do you like and when it comes to like things like reporting and stuff like that, are you the type to like bring everything into like a spreadsheet, or you kind of like keep it more simple when it comes to like, just using Facebook's ad reporting and stuff like that?
Yeah, lately I've been using some external reporting tools. One's called Agency Easy. It allows you to export PDFs for clients and whatnot and send them reports and metrics. Um, Sometimes you as an ad manager are able to easily digest KPIs and metrics, but the client may not always understand what you're showing them. So you have to be able to break it down maybe on a call, or at least explain it to them simply, what's
Yeah.
going on and how we need to improve. So
Yeah. Most definitely. Well, everyone, this has been a very, very insightful conversation with my good friend Mitch Lawrence. Thank you so much, brother, for coming through onto the Data Up podcast. I really do appreciate you for your time. Is there, as far as like people getting in contact with you, is there anything that you want to give out in that regards to people to like reach out or anything like that? And where obviously they can find you on Upwork, but yeah, is there anything else, any last thoughts or anything like that that you want to say before we hop off?
yeah, you can find me on Upwork. You just search for, I guess, Facebook Ads Manager, or if you want to email me directly, you can email mitch.w.lawrence at gmail.com. And lastly, my quote unquote agency website is activedigitalonline.com. Those are ways you can reach me for either mentorship or questions, consulting, ads management. And again, thanks, Ty, for this interview, and I hope we continue to grow together.
Awesome, brother. Thank you. Thank you. All right, everyone. This is the Data Up Podcast. I'm your host, Ty Smith. Thank you guys for listening in on this episode, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.